So OnlyFans is very competitive. In 2021, I think there was about 2.1 million creators on OnlyFans, and only 300 of them made more than a million a year. So you can see, like, I guess the disparity here. The average wage of an OnlyFans girl is like $180 a month.
Hello, my friend, and welcome to Something for Everybody. My name is Aaron Machbitz. Victoria, welcome to the show.
So much for having me, Aaron.
Absolutely. First and most important question is, how are you doing? Like, actually, for real, how are you doing?
I love that. I was not expecting that. I'm doing genuinely really, really well. I'm in a position in my life where I feel that I don't know. I have no idea what way my life is going to be. I have no idea what each day holds, and for me, that's just such an adventure. For someone who's come from loving to have everything structured and planned and figured out, to just every day see the new adventures and the new beauty in all of these wonderful things and opportunities that have come up for me. So I'm doing well and just kind of along for this ride every single day of what way will my life turn today?
Yeah. You've basically turned into someone who just like talks for a living every single day. I feel like that's pretty cool. I feel like the same way because I didn't really imagine my life like being on a podcast talking to someone who lives in a whole different place that I live in, but like it now can be a job. And I do enjoy talking all the time, but my fiance sometimes gets mad at me. She's like, dude, why don't you want to talk? I'm like, well, I've literally been talking
All
the
day.
whole day. And I'm like, so I've got to be conscious of that because obviously she deserves a lot of my time and attention as well, outside of the
Yeah.
random people that I talk to. Anyways, already getting quite personal with my story, but
I
yeah, I will from time to time. But as we jump into this conversation, which I find extremely fascinating, not only from like a male's perspective, but seeing some, I coach baseball and I can see some of my 15, 16-year-old kids like potentially leaning into some of these things that they might see on the internet that might be quite devastating and dangerous for them to get into. So it's part of the reason why I wanted to have this conversation with you. But my first question is like, what exactly is an OnlyFans agency? Because for us, most people, we just see OnlyFans as the subscription model that people subscribe to. We don't really see the back end stuff. So what does that actually mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way that I like to break down exactly what an OnlyFans agency is there's kind of three different elements to an agency. And so the way that I like to describe what an agency also is think about this. So OnlyFans, the platform itself, is a paid subscription platform, and the whole allure of OnlyFans is the fact that I get to have a conversation one on one with a girl. That's the whole point of OnlyFans and why it's a lot more successful than traditional pornography. And so with that, think about this. If a girl who has an OnlyFans account is sitting there and she has to talk to just say 10,000 people every single day, 7 days a week, across all these different time zones, you can't logistically do that. You can't fulfill that. So what do? You have to offset all that work to someone else. So then they're able to manage your account. And so as well, just for people listening that maybe you're under the guise or impression that potentially OnlyFans isn't just, a pornographic platform, 98% of the content on OnlyFans is porn. And it's porn. It's not selling your feet. It's not anything like that. And so this is basically what we do. So element number one is account management. So when a girl gets to a specific point in her account, or there's anomalies if we bring on like a new girl that's like new to the OnlyFans platform, you need to manage their account for them because again, they can't sit there talking to all these people all the time. So they offset it to an agency. So that's where we come in. So what you do is you onboard a girl, and when you onboard a girl, you have this thing called a questionnaire. And so the questionnaire, you sit, and basically a girl just fills out as much information as possible that she has about herself, and then you create this thing called a brief. So the brief is something that best represents the girl. Because what you do with that brief is you actually go and send it to someone. Traditionally, they're from the Philippines. Ours were from the Philippines. And they're called chatters. So you have these people that are online chatters that are pretending to be the OnlyFans girl. And basically, they do a sales job. So their role and responsibility is to sit there, pretending to be an OnlyFans girl to make as much money as possible on these accounts on the behalf of the girl, pretending to be the girl. So that's element number one, is account management. So basically managing the health of the account and making sure you're making as much money as possible from this girl's account. And that's the way that you do it. So
Can I
element
stop
number
you
two,
right there? Can I stop
of
you right
course I
there?
can.
Yeah, because like most guys who subscribe to OnlyFans accounts know that that's true. They intrinsically know that they're not actually talking to this female, unless
Yeah.
the OnlyFans account they're subscribed to has a low number and it's like, I don't know, whatever it is. But generally speaking, they know, and they still do not care because they are interested in having this quote unquote like girlfriend experience, obviously, which is what you guys were trying to create, I imagine,
Yeah.
through these chatters. And
Yeah.
even though we know the truth as guys, we still feel whatever. There's a whole lot of things going on that make us feel the way we do about our masculinity, our manhood, or loneliness, whatever the case may be, and we can get into that. But we still just want to have this sort of interaction with this woman, even though we know it's not actually her, but we don't care. And so that's for me, at least, when I'm thinking about young boys, like I mentioned, getting on these sites and their friends are, have girlfriends and all of these things that are happening, and they're like, well, I don't have anyone. And then this becomes a bit more attractive, especially when you're a younger male, because then maybe you haven't heard these conversations about chatters or things like that where they talk about them on these podcasts. But I just wanted to mention that quick before you go into the second part, if you have anything on that as well.
Yeah, of course. I think it's an interesting one because it's like you might be aware potentially that there's the risk that you're not talking to the girl, but it's the legitimate truth. You're talking majority of the time to a dude in the Philippines that's job is to literally be trained in this thing called the girlfriend experience to make you believe that you are, to literally get as much money as possible from you. And so just to hopefully try and plant that seed and shatter that narrative for guys that are like, I don't care. Dude, why wouldn't you care that you're getting like literally stooged by some dude in the Philippines and he's taking all your money, and you know you're talking to someone that doesn't exist. Like, doesn't that do something like in you just like a little bit type of thing? And if it doesn't, then I think you really need to sit down and like have a serious, deep, like heart evaluation. But I think, and anyways, from the conversations I've had, that genuine revelation and understanding that that is true and factual, for some reason, it really does kind of break something in men in the way that it shatters that illusion that even if they're like, oh, I kind of know it now that I legitimately know it, and I know that there's people out there that are targeting my weakest and softest essence, like I'm not going to play into that. So I just hope that that's a little bit of food for thought for anyone out there who's like, oh yeah, bro, I'm sure that they do. It's like, no, they legitimately do, and they're trained and targeted to take as much money from you as possible, and they don't care about you. As brutal as that sounds, that's just the honest truth. And then I guess to segue into part number two, I mean that in love. I really do. I promise I mean that in love, about them not caring. But part number two is where I came into the agency. So my role and responsibility was the marketing department. And so again, this was a seeding business. And so it was to build out what the marketing division of this would look like. Now, again, this is seen as a business. So we need to get these girls as viral as possible. So then we're able to pull people from social media and put them in these funneling systems that end them up at OnlyFans. So basically what that meant is we had hired a third person who would literally study algorithms and study trends. And this person every single day was sending us very specific curated content that was provocative. And it was trending sounds, trending songs, trending skits, whatever was, I guess, going viral at the time. And these girls were required to recreate these videos. But in this, the girls literally had to have a requirement of at least 3 to 5 TikTok accounts. And on every single one of those TikTok accounts, the girls had to post 5 unique videos per account. So that means that you're potentially posting up to 20 provocative and specific curated videos every single day across those 5 accounts for the intent of virality. And so I know we had one girl that we were doing this on her TikTok for about 7 days. And in 7 days, one of those videos had 2.2 million views on them, on the video. So it's like, this is the caliber of what this is. And so, and we were doing this, again, I'm mentioning TikTok, but we were taking those videos and then putting them into reels on Instagram. We were looking at Reddit, we were looking at X, we were looking at dating apps, Snapchat, anywhere that you can promote a girl, we were looking into it. And there are girls being probably promoted online on those platforms. And again, the whole point of that is to pull people in. But also, what is this doing to people? So if you're sitting there and you're seeing these girls that are super provocative, posting all these like sexy videos and stuff, and they're getting rewarded for it, well, it's not only enticing young men or men in general to want to watch this content, but it's soft influencing them to think that this is what a normal rewarded woman in our culture is. And that's the whole point of this as well. So then they're expectant that every type of woman acts this way, does these things, because they're seeing the reward of the virality. And then for young girls, it's making them go, okay, to be liked, loved, and rewarded in society, I therefore have to act like these girls, because again, they're the ones that are getting rewarded through the likes and the followings and whatever. But it's curated, it's intentional. We had someone that was literally studying algorithms to do that. And again, you can see the volume now of like how many accounts these girls had to have, that we were literally like, this is a requirement to be a part of the agency. Like, we want you to do this. And there was like pushback or problems if you didn't do these social media requirements. And so the reason why I try to emphasize on that is a couple of reasons. And the first one is, I think for women, or there's just this general stigma that OnlyFans is, it's like fluffy, it's easy, there's not a lot of work. And it's like, that's not the case in the reality at all. And if you have something like an agency that's kind of pushing you as well, there's a lot of hard influence by them to get you to do stuff like this. And then as well, just from like a greater societal impact, if one agency in Australia is doing this and pumping out this type of volume of content, imagine how many agencies there are in the world and how oversaturated our social media is with this type of very intentional content. And what do we think the ramifications are on our culture as a whole and people's mindsets because of stuff like this? So that's aspect number two. And that's what I would do, is all of the marketing, build all the departments, and basically manage all of the social media accounts, and make sure the girls were doing all of the content requirements that we had.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, 15 to 20 videos a day is intense. Like,
Yeah.
that's in and in itself a full-time job. And then having to come up with original stuff. Like, I just talk into my phone, and sometimes I'm like, one video is like too much for my brain to figure, like, what do I even talk about? Like 15 original pieces of content. And when you mean provocative, you mean like, is this bikini, lingerie? Is this like dances? Is this all the above? What's happening there?
Yeah, all the above. And there was very specific requirements that we had. So like, you had to be in the frame, you had to be showing this amount, you had to make sure that you were showing as much skin as possible. You were pushing the limits in every single video of what you can show. And then some of it was blatantly obvious. I remember one of the ones was like that dead rabbit one. It's like this dead rabbit, and then it would be the girls in like little lingerie outfits, like lying in positions. And then again, what is that doing? And then some of them were so subtle. There was one trend that was going around at the time, and it was like a woman's vanity set. And so it had all of her different makeup all over the thing, and it had this very specific trending song at the time. And one of the little makeup compacts was up and facing, and the girl was like in some sort of lingerie outfit, and she would scan all of the makeup pictures. I mean, the makeup on the desk, and there would be a reflection of her, and then the caption would be, "Did you notice?" And so again, what's that doing to people? Oh, look at what am I looking at? They're watching it over and over and over again to be able to see that thing. And so this is how, again, like curated and intentional this type of content is to try and draw people in.
Wow. I mean, just like a bird's eye view, it's like the work itself is like they do quite a good job with the marketing and all of that stuff. Like I'm sure there's a lot of outside lessons that can be learned, that can be applied, and things that might be a little bit more beneficial to society, which is what you're going to be doing next coming up, is what you got going on. But before we go to part three,
Yeah.
where was your starting point for all of this, and how did you get interjected into this business, sort of maybe not knowing exactly what you might be in for?
Yeah, so for me, basically, what had happened was in August 2022, I had a very close personal friend of mine reach out to me and basically say, hey, a very close personal friend in their circle was complaining about their OnlyFans agency. They were already in the OnlyFans arena. They were quite, I guess, popular on social media as well. And so they were complaining about their agency. My close personal friend has an extensive educational background and was like, well, why don't we start up our own agency? And then my background is in startups and marketing already. And so I was already helping some friends build businesses and stuff like that. So they were like, this just seems like a perfect concoction. Would you want to help us in building out our business? So I was like, yeah, sure. From the outside, I've never been exposed to porn. I've never watched porn. So I didn't really understand what OnlyFans was. Again, it's a bit of this enigma. I think you can sell your feet on there. The people that like I knew were doing OnlyFans, they'd come from like really low SES places here in Melbourne. And so it's like they came from, poorer backgrounds. Superficially, they seem rich, they seem happy. Okay, from the limited knowledge I have, this therefore must be a positive. And so that's why I had agreed to help build that agency with them.
And then and then you got sucked all the way in, huh?
So then, yeah, basically, as I said, when I was starting out, my role and responsibility was the marketing department. So then again, I still hadn't even come on. I was like at the agency, but I had still not even come on the back end of the OnlyFans platform. So what we had decided is that instead of me doing all of the marketing and the OnlyFans account manager doing all of the OnlyFans, if you're impersonating a person and a subscriber is talking to you on social media and on OnlyFans, but if we're not communicating, there's a hole in the story. And so people are starting to pick up on that. So we decided to change like the company structure. And so we split the girls in half. And then now you were doing the full life cycle. So you're doing less girls, but doing their social media and their OnlyFans account management. And so for me, that's when I started to see everything. And so I'm seeing porn for the first time, which is like shocking. And then also it's these girls that I know and that I've built relationships with in some sort of capacity. And it's like, I knew these girls before I saw their porn. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like they're really sweet. They're really kind. They're really like whatever. And I'm watching them do these acts. And so my brain's just like malfunctioning. And I was just really struggling every day to do it basically. And so that was sort of the catalyst, I guess, in a sense for here we are now. But I don't know if you want to go into that straight away, but yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting when you can see like more value in someone than they see in themselves, it really starts to, I think, like pull on your heartstrings. At least it does for me. Like when I see someone doing something that like I know that they are capable of much more, but they see themselves in such a light that this is all they think that they're possible or capable of doing based on whatever, childhood they had or social media taught them or their friends did. And so that's always an interesting thing. But like, there's always maybe a disconnect of having for me to show them what I see. Like it's very hard in that way, like getting them to see what I see about them. But I think that's obviously what you're trying to do now by going to schools and being on podcasts and all of that stuff. But was there a part 3 to your initial part? I know I keep sidetracking you and cutting you off.
No, I love a side quest conversation.
But yeah.
Yeah. So just element number 3, I guess, of an agency, just for people to be aware of, is recruitment. So where people think that it's not that effective, like cold messaging someone, but it works. And literally our role was to scour the internet, and you would look for very specific requirements for these girls. So the most important one is, are they already posting provocative content? Because if a girl is already posting provocative content, that either means that she probably already has an OnlyFans account, or she's more likely to do something like OnlyFans. And then there's a certain variance of followers that they have to have as well. Too little of a following is the too hard basket. And then too big of a following, again, is kind of like the likelihood of them probably doing something like this with a big name is less. And as well with that, the top three things that are searched on porn is literally teen, fresh teen, and barely legal. And we saw that even in OnlyFans, that the younger the girl was, the more money she would make. So then we started looking for girls as well that looked like they were fresh 18. Or if they weren't 18, would they lie if they were 19, 20, 21, whatever, and say that they were like a fresh 18-year-old, because that's what makes the most money. And so then there's a recruitment element to this where you would cold message the girl, and you would either message them from the account, the OnlyFans agency account. And so they'd get this message that would be like, hey, babe, we saw either your TikTok, your Instagram, your OnlyFans, whatever. We love your vibe. Have you ever considered management? And think about it. Imagine you have this account that has all these followers, that's legitimate. It's showing these elite parties, these luxurious dinners, this lifestyle. And they're being like, hey, we see something in you. And then if we really wanted a girl, we would actually get two of the owners that were already, as I said, kind of like known on social media and OnlyFans to direct message the girl. Because then now it's like, oh my gosh, blah, blah messaged me. I must be special. And the reason why I like to talk about this one as well is because, like, if we were doing this on the street, imagine like four women going up to young girls and being like, hey, we think you're cute. Do you want to do porn? You would literally call the cops on us. You would be like, this is like, this is pimping. But why is it that because it's behind the guise of a computer screen, it makes it okay? It's just as real and it's just as predatory. And so the recruitment element like is real, and I think a lot of people think that because things happen on social media or happen behind a computer or a phone that it's not as real as it's happening in real life. And it's like, this is just the new era. This is the new era of human trafficking. This is the new era of exploitation, of pimping, and it's all online, and it's just as serious and legitimate as of a problem as if a girl was to get coerced on the street by this stuff. So they're the three elements of an OnlyFans agency, and the one I worked out specifically what we would do and how it would run.
And like, how are the other people that you worked for? Like, were they feeling sort of the same tension that you were feeling, sort of tugging on the heartstrings, or were they just, business as usual? This is what I do, or was anyone else feeling the same way you were feeling?
Yeah, so as I was going along at the agency, and as I said, I started to feel really uncomfortable. So I started to search for answers. And like, again, this is my closest circle. So I'm asking them, how do you guys feel about what we do and stuff like that? And I had one person tell me that this is like a safe injecting heroin room. People need a safe place to do drugs. We give people a safe place to do porn. Other people were like, oh, I don't want to do this forever, like a management role. But I know how much money I can make from it, and the money I make from this will actually make my other business. So again, just commodifying women to exploit them to make money. And so none of the answers were really satisfying me, to be honest with you, but no one really thought that there was anything wrong with this.
So interesting. Now, what's the process like? Let's say you recruit a girl from Instagram, and she's posting, your everyday sort of bikini type photos. How do you get that person into the OnlyFans agency and then actually doing real porn acts? Like, is there a transition into that?
So again, the recruitment process is either, you cold message a girl, and then you want to get her on a phone call. And so there was only kind of one person at the agency that could do the phone calls. And I always say that if this person was like living life with the Lord, they would be like the craziest evangelist ever, because they just have this capacity to be able to basically get people to change the way they think. And so this person would be the one that would do these calls with these girls and, entice them and be like, this is why you should do OnlyFans, and, we'll do whatever we can to get you at the agency. And then, from there, they come up, under the agency umbrella, I guess. And as I said, we do the onboarding. So they do a questionnaire. Then we obviously put it out to the chatter. We do the marketing call with them, tell them their requirements. And so basically from there, as soon as you can do that onboarding process and communicate the requirements to them, that's when they need to do basically the content that's needed on social media and on OnlyFans as quickly as possible.
And then I imagine it's sort of, the content sort of has to ramp up to keep the subscribers up, to keep the people that are in there, I don't know, pleased, or I'm sure there's requests to come in. What does all that look like?
Yeah, so there's a couple different elements to this. So another kind of, I guess, illusion that people have is that, well, oh, can't the girl just do whatever she wants to do, and it's empowering and liberating because they can kind of set the standard for what they want to do and what they're comfortable with. And it's like, no, that's actually not accurate in any capacity. So from an agency perspective, when we would do this questionnaire with the girls, there was these things that we had called levels. And so the levels is what would indicate the level of comfortability of the type of content you wanted to do. So originally there was a level 1. And a level 1 was Instagram content, which is bikini and lingerie. And then it would go up to like level 2, implied nude. Level 3 is like when you start like having sex and all of them. Level 4 is everything but anal. Then level 5 is like do whatever you want. And when I'd kind of come in at the agency a little bit and stuff like that, I was like, why do we have a level 1? I was like, people aren't going to pay for what they see for free on social media on OnlyFans. It's not going to make any money. Let's get rid of level 1. So already you're coming into the agency and we're telling you what your baseline level has to be. So you might think that I'm going to come on OnlyFans and just do some like bikini pics or whatever. But we're already going, no, that's not even an option for you. Straight away, you have to start at least implied nude. And so what does that do psychologically as well? You're seeing all these levels. You're going, oh, I'm at the bottom here. Okay, maybe I need to do more. Maybe I need to push myself. And so there's that level of there is such an influence from your agency to do more, because the more you do, the more money they make. And then the other level of this is the influence from subscribers. So OnlyFans is very competitive. In 2021, I think there was about 2.1 million creators on OnlyFans. And only 300 of them made more than $1 million a year. So you can see, like, I guess the disparity here. The average wage of an OnlyFans girl is like $180 a month. So you're coming on to
$180 per month is the normal wage.
Yeah, that's the average wage of an OnlyFans girl.
That needs to be posted on every fucking billboard in all of the world.
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because people
because
think
like I saw you posted this the other day about like this 19-year-old girl who like paid off her dad's house because she was on OnlyFans, and I'm like, that 19-year-old girl probably is, like you're saying, she's 300 out of 2.1 million, and like, what is it going to do for the rest of her life? Obviously the repercussions are very large. She's 19, but like clearly that's not everyone. And if we push more of a narrative that like, yeah, you're going to make $180, but those things that stay on the internet are going to be on there forever and anyone can find them at any moment, because, you know, I think there's the allure that OnlyFans is like really safe and your content never gets leaked. That's has to be bullshit as well.
yeah, it's a total lie.
Yeah. So like, anyways, keep going. Go ahead.
No, I love it. But yeah, no, you're totally correct. Even that, I say OnlyFans is as safe as a public Instagram profile. Like the amount of girls that get their content leaked. There's a girl that I knew that a loose acquaintance, and she had done OnlyFans, stopped it, was in a different field, and goes, yeah, you can just Google my name and find my porn on Google, and it's just there. Like this stuff stays. Imagine we're sitting here right now and I'm looking at OnlyFans on my computer. What's stopping me from getting my phone out and taking a picture? What's stopping me from screenshotting things? Like the amount of girls that had stuff sent to their brothers, their ex-boyfriends, content leaked on Reddit, like all of this type of stuff. So there is definitely an illusion that, if I put it on OnlyFans, it's behind a paid wall and so it's safe. It's like, no, it's not. And once it's on the internet, there is no control that you have over your content in any capacity. But yeah, so it's incredibly competitive. this platform, just to circle back to that. And so subscribers as well, it's a really complex, I think anyways, relationship with a subscriber and a sex buyer and basically a porn star, like just to put the terms correctly. And with these people, there's already a sense of entitlement because they're like, I'm paying for you. And so they already have a level of expectancy, and a level of, I guess, assertiveness that they feel that they have over these girls. So, because again, I'm paying for this. So therefore, this is a service. You need to provide a service for me. And if you're not a very good business that's not providing a service, well, then you're not going to make a lot of money. And so you have this pressure again from your subscribers to perform and do more because look at the competitive field that you're in. And so there's that element. And then there's these things called custom requests. And so a custom request is when a subscriber can basically ask you to do anything. And they will ask you to do anything and they will push it. And even if you say no, again, there's this level of, well, I paid for this, I'm going to pay this for that. And so then you're like, oh, the money, oh, there's this weird, like, I need to satisfy my customers. So you're more enticed to do these requests as well, which again, bump up your level of where, oh my gosh, I thought I was going to do this. Now I'm all the way here doing that. Like, what have I done? You know?
Yeah. The only thing that I can relate this to in my own personal life, I'll tell you a little story here, Victoria. So I used to be a professional wrestler, like WWE, The Rock, whatever, that kind of shit.
No
And
way! That's so much fun. I have a really weird side quest story for you when you're done with this.
okay, I won't tell you what my pretend name was because you can Google it later and that'll be fun. But anyways, um, so when I started wrestling, just like any other sort of entertainment industry, like I'm not making any money. I'm making $0. I'm trying to go from show to show and get my name out there and all these things. And when you start wrestling, there's like this sort of this database of fans that ask for like stuff. And so I was like, okay, I need to make some money. I need to get some food. I need to drive to this next town, whatever the case may be. So I go into this. It was like a Facebook group at the time, and I go into the Facebook group, and I'm like, I'm trying to sell some of my socks after my match. Does anyone want to buy them? And then you get a bunch of messages. Hey, I'll buy your socks. I just wore these in this match. It was 20 minutes long. You can buy my socks. Cool. Here's $50. You know, just knocked my headphones out. Getting too excited about talking about this. So anyways, so then you can imagine in the same way the OnlyFans idea progresses, like people then request more. Okay, well, what about, your underwear? What about if you did a little something to your underwear after the match? And like, it just like, it no longer became about my wrestling attire or anything that I wore in the match. It was just about what can I do to the thing to sell it to this person that didn't really know me. And so that's the only thing I can relate it to because I was like, I needed money, same maybe as some of these people. I loved what I was doing in terms of being a professional wrestler. I don't know if people love being a porn star. I can't speak to that, but maybe some do, whatever. But like requests just like, and you're like, oh man, like should I do it? Like, this is what they're asking for. Like should I? And so it just gets like very overwhelming, especially for me. I was just like a young man. I was like 26, not sure what I was doing with trying to live this dream. And so I can grasp the idea of what you're talking about, of going up in these levels and being like, well, we requested this, you might as well do it. Okay, well, this is my customer, I should do it, and I can make this money, and then it'll be this, and then eventually I'll stop doing this because I won't have to do it anymore because I'll have so much money. And that just very rarely works out that way. And so I'd share that because like I can relate to it in a way that makes sense to me because I sort of did the same thing trying to pursue my dreams. Eventually, I just started selling plasma out of my body, and then eventually I started making money, so it was fine. But yeah, you could. Have you ever donated plasma? You could like donate plasma. They take it out of you, you donate it, you get like $75. Anyways, yeah.
Oh my gosh, how often were you doing that? Just for $75?
Every week.
Were you okay?
Yeah, it was fine. You feel like a little weak for a while, like a little bit afterwards because they take so much out of you, but you like eat and then you get rehydrated and But yeah, I'm not I'm not there anymore. But like, you do stuff to figure it out. Like, and my parents always had my back, but I was like, I wanted to do this on my own. I wanted to see, if I really wanted this thing, and I did, and I retired about 2.5, 3 years ago. Yeah, so I just wanted to share that as a sort of a relationship to what might they be going through.
Yep, yep. And I couldn't agree with you anymore. Like, you're 100% correct. Like, it's the same thing. It's just a different product that you're selling at the end of the day. But I'm sure that if those requests got a little bit more wild and the money and everything like that, that you would have like scratched your head a little bit and gone, And that's the exact same thing in OnlyFans. And that's the thing that people aren't understanding and the consequences of that as well. Because yeah, it's there forever. Imagine you're 19, 20 and you decide to do a full like porn video for someone for $75 because that's very realistic. And then now you're 35 years old and that's out there forever for people to see. And you literally did it for $75, which probably doesn't even cover the amount of money it costs to get your groceries. Like, is it worth it?
Yeah. There's got to be some longer term, like longer vision thinking about life and repercussions, and but everything's about like in the moment, instant gratification, all that stuff plays a part, and sure, into the psyche that goes into people doing this. But what sort of male behavior did you see with some of these requests? I'm sure it gets a little bit out of control, but what was some of the things you saw there?
Yeah, so there's, I guess, two stories that I'd like to tell with this. And one of them, it might not make sense, but when you pull on the thread of this is why this disturbs me so deeply. And so, again, we're talking about custom requests. And there was two custom requests that have really stuck with me. And the first custom request was this guy asked this girl to blow up balloons and blow them to a certain size and to wear a particular sandal and to step on the balloons. And people go, oh, that's funny. Like, haha, he was probably joking around with her. And it's like, no, this guy paid good money to get a girl to wear specific shoes, blow up balloons to a specific size, and step on them because that sexually satisfies him. People on these apps aren't doing these things as a joke and a lol because it's funny. That doesn't exist. So, what are we doing when we continue to encourage perversion in our society? And the more twisted, perverted things that we encourage, the more unhealthy people we create. So why is someone so weirdly twisted in their mind that they go, the specific sexual request that I want is someone to wear specific shoes, to blow balloons to a specific size and step on them, and that's what sexually satisfies me. It's like, that's weird. And then the second one was this guy had asked this girl to get another person, and this person had to pretend, and he goes like, they don't have to legitimately be in danger, but in the video, can you make it seem like they're holding onto a ledge and that they're going to fall, and you step on their fingers as if they're going to fall off this ledge, and that's the video. And again, so if you act that out and satisfy that person's need, and I have a very specific anecdote about this, what's stopping that guy going, I don't get off to watching this anymore. I need to go act that out. And no one's going to do that. And he needs the danger now. So what's going to stop him from going, well, I actually need to put someone on a ledge and step on their fingers and watch them die to get off now. And that might sound extreme, but literally I know someone personally, I spoke with him when I was on my tour in America, that porn wasn't satisfying him anymore. He started watching rape porn. And so he got to the point where he literally went to rape a girl because he had to act out these fantasies because nothing was satisfying him. And we hear these stories time and time again. So why are we encouraging this type of perversion? So from a subscriber perspective, that stuff really disturbed me. And then I guess from another level, that gives me so much empathy for sex buyers, which is a controversial thing to say in this like arena of activism, but everyone's a human at the end of the day. And what I really like don't even know the answer to, but I'm like, why does the girlfriend experience work on men? Like, and majority of I think the statistic is like 89.7% of men on OnlyFans that are subscribers are married, and the girlfriend experience is working on them. So why are married men coming to a porn platform to get a girlfriend experience? Something's misaligned here. Something's not right here. And I think men in our society today are so belittled. They're so put down. This toxic feminist movement that has come around of we don't need men, we're blah, 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 whatever, is really, really hurting our men in this generation. And so, of course, they're now seeking out validation, security, love, compliments, sexual satisfaction from something like OnlyFans, because our culture today is kind of leaned towards putting men down and how valuable they are in our society as a whole. And that's what's leading to this. And then you can see how it just kind of spirals out of control. So that was kind of my, I guess, experiences with subscribers. For me, I don't know, I really have so much empathy for them. Like, of course, there's some people that are just not well in this world. But the overall overarching theme, I think it's a lot of lonely men that are just looking for some sort of connection.
Yeah, I mean, you could put the ones that are actually psychologically unstable in a different bucket, but the
Yeah.
majority of guys who watch porn or participate in some of this behavior are just incredibly, incredibly lonely. And the only way they can feel to satisfy any of those needs is to speak to what they think is a human on the internet, when really it's obviously like a chatter that you said. And I'm glad that more information is coming out about that. But and then you played right into it. Like, if the messaging you get for years upon years upon years upon years on social media is that you're worthless, everything bad that's ever happened to the world is because men, and now that you're a man, you need to not do that because men throughout all of history have raped and pillaged and started wars, and everything bad that's happened is because of you. And so now just like step over to the side, be in the corner, don't do shit. You're not going to be appreciated. You're not going to be loved. You're not going to be valued. No one's going to respect you. Like, go over there in the corner. And, maybe those exact words aren't being said, but some young person is going to internalize those things, and that's how he's going to feel. And then he's going to need some sort of validation from someone somewhere. And if he has any money, or he finds money somewhere, or he keeps maxing out his credit cards, he's going to go to these people on the internet because they're the only ones that seem to give him any attention. And then obviously, as he watches more stuff, it's just going to get more and more and more and more and more absurd. And now he's, like you said, living out these sort of fantasies, very, very terrible, awful fantasies in real time that are harmful to him and the people that he's doing them with. So that's sort of the trajectory. And then it's sort of on the opposite side with feminism. Now there's this huge idea that all the stuff that women are doing is like this great sexual liberation, and it's super fucking empowering for them to be naked on the internet all the time. And I'm not a woman, I don't know, but I think that's fucking ass backwards.
Yeah, absolutely. I think an emphasis that we need to make, and I think that women who are kind of championing this message need to be very specific about, is it's not feminism as a whole, but it's this new toxic age of feminism. Because before the feminist movement, women couldn't vote. Domestic violence was absolutely out of control. Women had no rights in any capacity. And we can see in a lot of places in the world where feminism, healthy feminism, is desperately needed because women have no rights in any capacity. So I don't think the solution is abolish feminism as a whole,
Right.
or put all of feminism in this pocket of its negative, because no, we still need to champion women's rights, and
100%.
just
I'm sure you
the
saw that the thing of the
yeah.
Taliban, right? The Taliban in Afghanistan, women had to be
Yeah.
fully covered. They can't even make a fucking sound. Like,
Yeah.
if we're going to fight for women's rights, like, why are we not doing it for those people who literally have less rights than a fucking dog? Excuse me.
Yeah.
Sorry. I get fired up. Go ahead.
No, you're okay. So I think that that's just a nuance. But the reason why I'm so specific with words is because now in our culture and in our world nowadays, words don't have any validity to them, and I really want to get people to understand the importance of the words that we say and what we mean, because there is so much deception around words. Even something as simple as an OnlyFans creator. What does that mean? What's a content creator? No, OnlyFans is a porn website, and you're making porn, and we need to label these things correctly. And so that's why I just kind of care about that little nuance of there is a difference in this toxic era of feminism. But it is true. And again, we have to really take like a long, hard think and just go, why are we championing women to want to over sexualize themselves? Because a story that I tell is there was a girl at the agency that didn't want to do this anymore. She had done this for about maybe 6 years, and she'd just cracked 1 million in the bank account. And she's like, about to be 30 at this point. Now, people might hear that and go, whoa, but do you know that $1 million at, almost 30 is not retirement money? And if you have a mortgage and you have car repayments and you have bills and you have no more income coming in, $1 million is not going to get you far in any capacity. And it's a very scary situation to be in, especially when you have these legitimate financial responsibilities. And so I said to her, I was like, that's okay, babe. Like, if you don't want to do this content anymore, let's get you more involved in the agency aspect. So I sat down with her and I was like, what are you good at? And she goes, I'm good at being hot. And I was like, nah, come on, babe. Like, tell me, what are you good at? And I still can look see it. The saddest eyes. I'm not good at anything. This is the only thing I can do. And that was the conversation and it was done. And so this is what people aren't understanding. And I go and I speak to young girls and I see what we're creating as well in this new generation of the only capacity you have is to sell yourself online. The only value that you have is to be this sexualized girl. And it's like, that's what we're teaching our young girls to dream, not to dream big dreams, not to think that they have creativity or that they have other characteristics about themselves that make them valuable, their intrinsic value of who they are. It's just how sexual can you be? What acts can you perform? How much likes can you get from it? Because that's your only value. And we see this now in this generation of women that are wanting to leave things like OnlyFans. And they're so programmed to think that this is their only capacity. And I personally think that's tragic. I'm like, I don't think that anyone in this world should ever think that the only value they can contribute in their life is to just be like a hot human. Like, if I sat here right now and Aaron, you were like, Vic, I actually don't want you to talk. I don't want you to do anything. I just want you to sit here and look cute. And that's the podcast. I would be like, I have so much more value than that. We can
Yeah.
have a conversation. We can talk. There's things like, if you want me to just sit here and that's the only value I bring to your life, that's going to make me feel really bad.
Mm-hmm.
And if I did the same for you. And so I think people don't understand that that's what we're programming people to think and believe, and what we're programming our young girls to think, that their only value, the only way they can be liked, loved, rewarded, travel, be happy, anything. And I've heard that. That's a personal anecdote of two girls telling me the only way they think they can be happy and travel is to do OnlyFans. And so I don't think people understand the magnitude of what we're actually encouraging here, again, through this new era of feminism that's saying to be a sexually liberated woman is to be a praised woman, because it's just not the case.
Yeah. I think we've just totally overcorrected on both the masculine and the feminine. And now we're at like both opposite extremes, when really like when two people are together, like let's just say a man and a woman, and their masculine and feminine energies counteract each other and they balance each other. In certain situations, my fiance is going to have more masculine energy than me, because sometimes I don't really like talking to people on the phone, and she's going to do it, and she's going to tell them that this messed up and this happened. But in certain situations, that my energy is going to bring up, so she can bring more of her like there's like this nice little balance that goes on when you have that. And I think in specifically with my situation, but like now we've just overcorrected it, where like, again, it talked about the masculine, like in the dirt, don't do anything, it's all toxic, you're bad. And now this new modern age feminism that you specifically talked about in this domain is like, your only value is that you can be hot and show your body off. Like that is the, like, what, as I became like more of a man and less of a boy, that is like the least important thing that I thought about when trying to figure out a person that I want to spend the rest of my life with. Of course, I want them to be attractive, of course, but more it's like, I want them to be taking care of themselves. Like, you work out, that's very important to you. I saw some of your sauna stuff. Like that is attractive to someone who's looking for a healthy relationship, because they're like, oh, this person cares about their well-being. That's more hot than like you just trying to be hot, at least. Yeah. Like, so, but you're also interested in what they bring to the table, like their values, like how the conversation goes. Like if I can go on an 8-hour trip with someone and we could just fucking be bullshitting about whatever the whole time, not that you're just sitting there being hot for 8 hours. That's fucking useless. Like, and so there's like so many things that we can champion that make someone the best version of themselves rather than just what they look like. But we've always presented it what you look like, instead of these are things that you can do to be healthy. Obviously, you need to exercise and eat right. Those are really important. But that's just like you living a long, flourishing life, not just for you to be hot. And so I like that you said that. And so I try to tell young men that, because I didn't learn that till I was later in life. I watched a lot of porn when I was younger, in high school and in college, and it didn't take till I went through some very serious experiences with some sexual partners that I had that I needed to realize that I need to fucking wake up, and I needed to mature, and I needed to get my shit together if I wanted to actually have a partner that was meaningful in my life, not just these random things that were sucking the soul out of the people that I was with and out of myself. I needed to have some sexual discipline and take care of myself in certain ways. And so I get why people can get trapped in these things, because they're very alluring. Like, these women are very hot, and they're doing some cool, crazy stuff that's easy to get attracted to. And there was no OnlyFans when I was in high school, but I'm sure I would be freaking chatting up all the girls if I could, because I saw them on the internet and I thought I knew them. And so now I get it's even more challenging now with that, but we have to put forth this idea of sexual discipline and making that more sacred. And I know you've gotten a little bit more religious, so maybe you have some thoughts on that, but I sort of just went on a ramble there. Hopefully that was worth
I
your
love
time.
it. No, I love it so much. There's, yeah, I guess a couple things that I would love to talk about with this, and that's cool that you brought up my faith, because as someone who has lived one way for 25 years and then now lives another way, I get it. And I think that this is such an important message for people. Is a lot of people, especially in this specific arena that we're talking about, and I kind of want to touch on the marriage aspect, and I guess like the sexual activity aspect. And people think that when you come to the Lord, when you come to faith, that there's all these things that you can't do anymore, and all of your fun is stripped away from you, and all of the things that you think, like casual hookups and waiting till marriage, and this concept of purity is like the wackest thing, and it's the lamest thing, and why can't we watch porn? Why can't we have partners? Why can't we this? But when you can actually, two of the biggest things that I care about in this sphere, I guess, of activism is education and equipping. I think that the most important thing we can do is educate people on the reality of things, but then not only do that, because that just kind of doomsday people, is equip them. Because when you can be proactive in something, then you can bring about that cultural change. And again, that starts on the ground. That's with every single person that you can do something. And that's how you build a new culture. And that's what I'm really focused on. And so, in this sphere of educating ourselves, what I have come to learn about why there was a reason that you're supposed to wait to have sex, why you're supposed to value your body in that type of way as a male and a female, is because when you allow, again, what we're talking about, this perversiveness to happen, and again, this is all the way back to the Old Testament, that you see this time and time again, when you allow sexual immorality to run rampant, that's when things like this happen. That's when children get targeted. That's when people start saying that you can be a minor attracted person. That's when you start seeing these things on social media, like OnlyFans, where you can act out any sexual depravity that you want. When we open up the gate for this type of stuff, this is what it leads to. And so that's why the whole point and the whole sanctity of something like sex is supposed to be this sacred thing in a marriage with a man and a woman, because it's something to be protected. It's like if you have a fire in a fireplace, it's amazing. It's the best thing ever. But when you have a fireplace in the middle of the living room, oh my goodness me, that's not a good time in any capacity. These things are meant to be cherished in the right context of what it is. And it's not to put any strains on us, but it's actually to enhance the experience of what it's meant to be. And so I think about that. We sit here and hookup culture and all of this, and it's like, why would you want, if you think about all the people that you've slept with and had sex with and everything like that, why would you want to encourage that? Like, hooking up sucks, or you get in a relationship with someone for 3 to 5 months or whatever, and you have this natural notion that you're just supposed to have sex with them because that's what you do. And it's like, but that adds up. Are you actually going to give that advice to your child or your daughter, that her body, which is the most sacred and special thing that she owns, that she should just be giving that away to people? And when I put it through that lens, I was like, yeah, like, it's actually not weird that you're like, I value myself so deeply that the only person that deserves to have the whole essence of me is the one who's actually committed to me. And I think that if we just, even if people don't want to take it to the level of waiting till marriage, having that lens on in a hookup culture, because when you have sex with someone, it creates a false sense of intimacy. You think that if you have sex, therefore you will become close and you know someone. But when you actually take sex off the table, you have to realize I need to communicate with this person. I got to talk to this person. I need to have way more of intentional questions with this person because I can't fabricate intimacy with them. I have to get to know them on such a deeper level. And so I think that that's even just something to potentially advise people on is just take a minute. Sex does create a false sense of intimacy. It is actually a beautiful act that was created by God. So he doesn't want to put limits on it. But again, in the context of what it should be, because it actually enhances the experience. It's not to take away. And then I guess it's interesting as well talking about this whole like masculine and feminine identities and all of that. And it's such like this weird, interesting balance. And just again, some food for thought for people as they're going through navigating all of this and like the mentality that they do have towards toxic feminism or, beta males or whatever is actually like just to put it blatantly, that's kind of what we're trying to champion here is men to be these beta men. Is There's very specific scripture that actually talks about how males and females should be and how in the context of marriage. And it's the craziest thing, and it literally says word for word, it is like the mystery. It's the mystery of marriage. And it's because when you have a look at the way that God designed a marriage, it's that the man is supposed to be so subservient to his wife that it reflects the way that Jesus loved the church. Now, for those who believe in this, Jesus died for the church because the church is actually all of us. That's what church means. And so it's like, that means a husband is supposed to be so serving to his wife that he loves her like Christ loved the church. Well, he has to die for his wife then. Like, not like a little, but that's the servant heart that he has. But a wife is supposed to submit to a husband because he loves her so much that she wants to do these things for him out of that pure love. And it's this mysterious cycle. And I think that the whole point of saying that is not to Jesus, like people, but to go now when I look at the perspective of relationships, it's not what can you do for me? Well, is he 6 foot? Is he in accounting? Is he like this mega millionaire? Like all these stupid things that women say is what matters now. And is he satisfying me and all my needs? But what type of man do I want to be with that I trust him so much that I want to serve him? How can I give myself to him in such a way that I can love him, encourage him, champion him, and all of these things because that's serving? And then a man to go, instead of a woman that can just be hot or sexually satisfy me or do all these things, how can I be such an outstanding man and love her in such a deep capacity that she wants to trust me and wants to do all these other things that I know will like nourish my soul? So I think just to even take faith out of it, looking at those two characteristics, if we kind of had a little bit more of that value system in our society, I think that it would alleviate a lot of pain. It would make dating a lot more of a fun and enjoyable experience. And I think it would actually foster deeper quality relationships in people just to even maybe have those little perspective shifts in their mind.
Wow.
Sorry, that was a
Beautiful.
massive rant.
That was beautiful. That was really, really, really beautiful and very, very well said. I can tell you from experience that if a man feels respected, supported, and appreciated by his woman, he will literally fucking do anything in the whole world for her. Those are the three values that are most important to men: respect, appreciation, and just fucking support us. Tell us that we're doing a good job every once in a while. Like we get home from an 8-hour shift or we recorded 72 podcasts or whatever we did. Just like, and then men will literally go to the ends of earth, like you're saying, to protect, provide, to love, to care for who's ever in the little nest, whether it be just the wife or the kids or the fucking mom and dad live there too, whatever it is. Like that's all it needs to be, and we just make it much more complicated than that. Of course, there's nuances to relationships. Relationships are hard. They take a lot of communication and effort, but you have to have, like you're saying, this foundational layer of values that have to be built on. And if you don't have the foundational layers of values for it to be built on, then yeah, it's gonna crumble with the first little crack of this or first little argument of that, or your wife gains 20 pounds and now she's not hot anymore. So what the fuck are we gonna? There's no values driven on that. You're not caring for her in a way. So like everything just crumbles. But yeah, beautiful, well said, nice job.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
To wrap up our conversation, what do we got going on next? Like, what are you interested in? Where is this taking you? Other new ventures you got going on?
Yeah, definitely. So we're since coming back from America, stuck into schools, but I'm also looking at bringing that to the States as well. So I run my educational workshop, which is called Creating Gems, and through that, it's just tailor made more so for young girls in schools. And it's just about, again, going through all of this stuff, but in a way that helps them to navigate school and navigate, I guess, the challenges that they're having growing up, but also educating them on the reality of what is on the other side of when they do finish school and how they can practically implement things now to be able to, again, alleviate a lot of the pain and the mistakes that they will probably fall into unless they were educated and equipped. And then the second session that I love to do with young girls as well is actually championing like their true identity. What are their pillars? And we get the peers involved in that, and it's fostering community. And I just did this yesterday with a bunch of young 120 like 14-year-old girls, and seeing just an alternative conversation be had with them, and they were coming up and showing me their pillars, and my peers say that I have a lot of gratitude, that I'm really kind, that I'm this, and it was just beautiful to be able to foster that with these girls instead of just, oh, you have to be hot. So that's a little bit about my educational program that I do, and there is also options to do that internationally, as well as at any type of speaking engagement, specifically in churches. I talk about how Jesus changed my life in 5 days. And then as well as that, I do consultancy work, which I will hopefully be able to actually officially advertise soon. But considering I made girls go viral for the wrong reasons, now we want to make people go viral for the right reasons. So yeah, I do social media strategy, consultancy with people, as well as startup consultancy. That's actually my background. And as well specific consultancy about all of this OnlyFans stuff to be able to educate and equip people as well in a lot more of an in-depth way than just doing it on a podcast. So that's kind of everything we have going on.
Fuck yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah,
well,
it's fun.
I'm pumped to know you. I'm glad we had this conversation, and I appreciate the work you're doing, and awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was such a delight to connect with you. This has been really enjoyable, so thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for tuning into that episode. And if you enjoyed it, click right here for another full-length episode of the podcast. And please don't forget to subscribe. But most importantly, above all else, please take good care of yourselves and others. And I'll see you next time. Lots of love. Cheers.